The Houston Rockets right now have the best offense in the NBA, but a couple of nights ago against Denver, Houston had by far its worst quarter of the season, where they opened up the game with just 12 points. And this was the first time where the Rockets' lack of spacing and playmaking became a real problem. To start things off, Houston was trying to run things through Alperen Sengun, but with two other non-shooters on the floor, it was easy for Denver to load up towards the ball, and this led to him having to give it up late in the shot clock, or being funneled into long twos over the defense. And to counter the Rockets' double big lineup with Adams, Denver brought Valanciunas off the bench, so they were able to close out Houston with one shot. And that lack of floor spacing also affected Durant when he was trying to create. Again, there was heavy gap and backline defense, and they were willing to let certain guys get wide open looks. The Rockets here are going to try to get Durant some space off the ball by having him work off this pin down screen, but off the catch, he again has a wall of bodies in front of him, plus Peyton Watson chasing from behind. And while the Rockets do have a ton of individual talent on the floor, many of their go-to guys are still developing. Jabari Smith's game has for sure been leveling up, but he's still limited as an off-the-dribble creator and passer. Thompson, on the other hand, is one of the most gifted slashers in the league, but he'll often miss clear passing reads. As he comes off the screen below the arc here, he elects to get into a contested floater as opposed to hitting KD on this clear kickout. So while the Rockets can't overwhelm teams with their individual talent and offensive rebounding, I still think they could use some additional shooting and passing on the floor. And that's exactly what Reed Sheppard brought in the second quarter, where he exploded for a quick 18 points. From a skill standpoint, I think the most important thing that Sheppard brings is his pull-up shooting, and more specifically his pull-up shooting at pick and roll. Besides maybe KD, Reed is the only guy on this team who can work off a ball screen and rise up for pull-up jumpers from range. But I would argue that Reed's smaller frame does give him better ball security off the dribble compared to Durant. And Reed can both rise up for jumpers from 3 and get into the mid-range. Now what makes the pull-up shooting so important is that it pulled Denver's size out of the paint, and this led to a bunch of breakdowns. First, if Valanciunas had to step up to meet Sheppard off the dribble, he simply didn't have the foot speed to contain him. And second, with the bigs being pulled out of the paint, that gave Houston's athletes more room to cut. As Jokic steps up towards the level here and Sengun pops out, Jamal Murray here on the weak side has to cover two players, and Reed's able to find Thompson cutting along the baseline. And the thing is with Sheppard, he also brings all that scoring and spacing when playing off the ball, where so far this year he's shooting over 46% on all his catch and shoot threes. And having just one additional shooter on the floor does so much for the Rockets offense. On this Durant and Sengun pick and roll, look how deep the weak side here digs down towards the paint. From this spot, there's normally one or two players that the defense is fine leaving open, but with both Reed and Smith spotting up, that's going to be a problem. The impact on this play is subtle but very real, where Sheppard spotting up on the wing pulls this gap defender up, giving Durant plenty of space to turn the corner, collapse the defense, and set up a wide open 3 in the corner. So while Reed may not have the overwhelming physical talent that the other guys on Houston has, I do think his shooting on and off the ball does give the Rockets offense a different dynamic. And we saw that same effect in Reed's first start against the Phoenix Suns, where again that additional spacing and on-ball creation really opened up the floor. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Thompson had a season-high 28 points with Reed in the starting lineup. First, with Sheppard spotting up in the corner, the defense couldn't really bring help from the weak side, leaving Thompson all this space to assault the paint. And with Reed spotting up on the wings, that also made it harder for the defense to gap and close off driving lanes. Look how Sheppard spotting up here pulls Booker away from the nail, giving Thompson all this space to attack across the middle. I love the spacing Houston gets on this play, with both Sheppard and Smith spotting up on the wing and corner, and Okogie also filling out. And Thompson here has all this space to cut to the rim. And the thing is, the Rockets could also get even better spacing with Kevin Durant on the floor. Imagine we replace Okogie here with KD. That right there is 3 players you have spotting up who are shooting over 40% from behind the line. And Thompson handling the ball in the middle of the floor with space is going to lead to good offense. And again, with that additional floor spacing and on-ball creation that Sheppard brings, that just feeds into everything that Thompson does. Reed can space the floor and give him more room to cut and slash into the lane, or you could put the ball in Sheppard's hands, and he's going to create plenty of rotations for Thompson to attack. And the thing is with Sheppard, I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface with just how effective he can be as an on-ball creator. The pull-up shooting from 3 and the mid-range is obviously there, but with the ball in isolation, he could be another guy who can beat his man at the point of attack to then put pressure on the rim and create scrambles. And because of that in-between scoring, he's naturally going to pull the backline defense up, which will create backside lobs for Thompson or skip passes to the opposite corner. This is a really good read here, where off this pick, the defense collapses down to take away that lob, but Sheppard's able to jump up and find Sengun filling up towards the wing. So from an offensive standpoint, Sheppard brings everything to the table. He can space the floor for your other superstars, create shots with the ball in his hands out of pick and roll, while also having a really good feel of the court as a playmaker. Now going forward, I think the biggest question mark for Sheppard is going to be his defense. First, from a talent and build standpoint, Reed isn't on the level of an Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, or Jabari Smith. First, at 6'2 and 185, Sheppard doesn't have that much switchability. If he gets matched up with a bigger wing or forward, he doesn't have the height, length, or strength to offer any real resistance. And if he gets caught in these cross matchups, it typically leads to a bucket or foul.
Sheppard backs him down and then Reed had to foul.
And then at the point of attack, Sheppard also doesn't have that elite length or foot speed on the ball. In pick and roll, he often gets hung up on the screen and gives the ball handler plenty of daylight to work with. Look how he avoids contact here, giving his man a runway to the basket. That lack of size also limits Sheppard's impact off the ball, where he doesn't have the verticality to provide any real resistance in the paint. So comparing Sheppard's build to everybody else on Houston's roster, he is kind of the one weak link. And there are certain matchups where the Rockets can't afford to leave him on an island. So to address this, Houston will often do a couple of things. First, if Sheppard is guarding the ball in open space, they'll often provide heavy gap defense by shrinking the floor with heavy help. As Reed picks up Ja Morant here in transition, look how far Thompson slides over here in gap. And second, if teams try to target Sheppard in pick and roll, he'll often hedge out like a big man to avoid that switch. And this is meant to push the ball handler back, giving his teammate more time to work around the screen and get back in front. So while all these tactics do kind of take Sheppard's feet out of the fire, they also really bend your overall defense, leaving you vulnerable to lots of breakdowns. If you're throwing heavy help towards the ball, you're then giving up easy swing passes to shooters. And giving any elite scorer or playmaker a big diet of hard hedges isn't a recipe for success. So no matter how you slice it, the Rockets' defense is going to take a step back with Sheppard on the floor. He simply doesn't have the size and versatility. But at the same time, I wouldn't say Sheppard is this massive liability. While he may not have elite foot speed or length on the ball, he does have wicked fast hands. Per 36 minutes this year, Sheppard is averaging 2.5 steals per game, which is 10th in the NBA. In general, he has really good timing on the ball, while also being relentless in finding windows to make plays. One thing he's really good at doing is getting these pokeaways from behind, where it almost looks like he lets the ball get past him, but he's still able to make up that ground. Look how he kind of gives Cole Anthony this angle for a spin, but Sheppard just commits all the way around and finds the ball. This play isn't a steal, but I love the effort, where Gary Trent turns the corner off the screen, but from behind, Sheppard's going to chase him down and swap his floater. And on the ball, while Reed may not have the length to contest shots that well, he's still pretty good at containing and keeping the ball in front, which is enough to either force difficult shots from over the top or give Houston's defense more time to collapse. So again, while I don't think Reed is a top tier talent defensively, he is low-key a dog. And he's going to find a way to scrap and compete throughout the game. He has great instincts for finding steals and making plays on the ball. He's going to give you great effort on rotations, and he has enough to at least hold his own in open space. I think when you combine Sheppard's motor and instincts, he easily has enough to stay afloat defensively. So going forward, I think there are some real benefits to keeping Sheppard in the starting lineup. First, you're going to get a lot better floor spacing with him, Durant, and Smith on the court. And in return, I think that's going to unlock everybody else's game even more. Sengun will get more opportunities to play one-on-one in the post. Durant will have much more space to isolate. And Amen Thompson will have a field day with all that space. He could be activated more as an off-ball cutter or get downhill with 3 shooters spotting up. So while the Rockets already have a top tier offense in the NBA, I do think Sheppard's presence on the court does make this system more flexible, and they'll have a lot more counters against the elite defenses.